Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Stellaris Let's Plays as Northstar. I hope you folks are well. I'm tired. Long COVID often leaves me tired. I had to run around downtown some today, where I am, because my glasses broke. They just snapped. Not even at the hinge, just in the middle of the frame. Not in the center between the glasses, like center of the earpiece just broke, which I blame cheap material. Planned obsolescence. Companies intentionally make stuff to break quickly these days so that you have to replace it more often so they can make more profit. There's truth to the saying they don't make it like they used to. It's a shitty tactic based on some nonsense theories created around the time of like World War II to the 70s. Oh, if we don't do this, there won't be enough employment. But because people will consume more stuff this way, they'll just, if they have to replace stuff more often, they won't be able to instead save up and buy other goods. It's nonsense. Even the economic theory doesn't line up with it. It's just an excuse to certain companies, individually profit even if the system the whole loses out. To increase profits for the billionaires in the end. That's what everything in capitalism is about. Yeah, so new folks, welcome. This is Northstar. This is all organized series. You can check from the beginning. I'm disabled with long COVID, and that I get distracted. Sometimes I go into political sides. I mean, it's not entirely unintended in that one of the things I can do to keep you guys entertained is sometimes go into, bits of history and politics, but I can get on too long or do it in a ham-fisted way. On occasion. I just need something to talk about to keep you all engaged. Did I not? Oh, upgrade 4 is going to be most bucklers with a couple worm killers, and 3 is going to be all worm killers. Yep. So it appears I saw some stuff. Why is the Hubble? Oh, this is a dead end it explored. I wonder how long this science ship sat idle here. Gah. I guess I'll have to double back and explore this way. Maybe here first. While I'm in this area. So I did see some stuff about voidworms might not eat pops till they hit 25% devastation on the world. So it might be that even though Sejumia doesn't have enough pops, it's not supposed to be targeted until it has 1,000, that the voidworms will eat it down by 300 once they inflict enough devastation. It might just be... We'll see what happens. Otherwise, it might just keep eating until there's 1,000 pops so the world breaks. So it's a bug that world's being targeted. Regardless. Yes, I'm disabled on COVID. I can't always think the most quickly or clearly. Trying to make this YouTube channel get to where I can monetize it, survive. Working my way up in subscriber counts. We do get to 500 subs, which at the time of recording I'm nowhere near before I can even monetize, and the income is pitiful until you have thousands and thousands of subscribers. But the more subs you have, the faster your channel grows because the algorithm picks up on it. The more likes and the more comments. So, like, comment, subscribe, I guess. So that your friendly neighborhood leftist YouTuber can not die homeless on the streets because of a disability. Because that's what our society would have me do. Even SSI is not enough to pay rent. At least, like, anywhere but the most rural, underdeveloped areas of the country, which I'll move to if I can somehow find an apartment in one of those places that will sustainably be below SSI. Of course, it's usually very hard to, like, communicate with the Social Security Administration in the middle of nowhere, you often are forced to come into their offices, so it's better to first get that SSI qualified and then maybe try and move into like rural Nebraska or wherever. If the check's the same amount, I'll go further out there. Sucks, but I have to survive. And eventually my YouTube channel, hopefully will get to where this will supplement that income and I'll be able to survive. And then maybe someday they'll be careful on COVID. I was right on the verge of becoming a physician when I got sick. How the mighty have fallen. I don't know. Intellectually and in some ways social, at least economic status. Some might say it was mighty. I don't know. I grew up poor and such, but I was starting to become a physician. I was so close. Straight 4.0. That is straight A for those who aren't American. Straight A average. Somewhere it doesn't do A pluses. That's the highest that was possible. Or would have had A pluses. I would have had higher than 4.0 if it was actually possible. They actually awarded higher grades at my school. And a special master's, which is like a portion. Some special masters are just repeating like high level bachelor's level content, but this was one that does takes part of the content you do in an MD, like medical doctor program, and divides up over a longer period of time. Same instructors, same facilities, you take the same stuff, you just, what would be 2 trimesters or 3 quarters, whatever, of a year now becomes a full year of material. I'm not going to say whether we used a trimester, semester, or quarter system. It would give away too much about where I was. I'm trying not to get personal information online, but needless to say, it was slowed down, but it was still part of what I would see in the first year of an MD, and I was getting straight A's, and my professors thought it was, quote, brilliant. That was their words, not mine. Although they didn't really say it until I got sick at the end. It's like, oh, now you're telling me how brilliant I thought it was. I would have liked to have known this earlier. I would have felt a little more sure of myself. I was always kind of anxious. But yeah. So I would have been a doctor, maybe a disagreeable one. I don't know. Many people consider the most agreeable person in the world. Enough to be a doctor. It's not like horrendously bad, but a brilliant one. And do you want a doctor who you like? Or one who's very smart and can save your life? And by agreeable, I mean like I'm really good at smiling patients and being kind to them. More along the lines of like holding coworkers and such to a high moral and ethical standard and standard of professionalism and behavior, which could rub people the wrong way. Which is why an agreeableness test would always score in the middle range, when most people score in the high range, because I'm not afraid to tell people when they're wrong or they're like endangering someone's life or something, and that makes you a little less agreeable. So I would have gone great with patients. I guess, would you rather have a brilliant doctor who maybe doesn't always chafes their coworkers a little, or would you rather have a incompetent one who gets along great with their coworkers? Anyways, let's get this going. I don't see anything that I desperately needed to change. Oh, shoot. Trade. Because our food not put to use. These guys are all ruthless capitalists, but I would like to bring them into a trade federation someday. If that's at all possible. May not be for a while. I sold these guys a sonically refracted prism. It's their only specimen. Eventually I may buy it back, but they can hold on to it, maybe exhibit it. I have too many specimens. I won't be able to display them all, and that's one of the less useful ones I'm still retaining. Should probably pick some other stuff to do the same with. Figure out exactly how many specimens I'll be able to actually display, and the rest just loan out to other museums, so to speak. Sold some for energy too, because if I do lend out stuff, it does strengthen potential rivals. So still want to be careful who I do it with. I know these guys like consumer goods. Can't hardly hear this. Why can't I? Maybe there's a kind of silent period at the beginning of this song. I don't know. Frickin' air conditioner is also being obnoxious loud. Should these value more energy or trade energy? Might have something to do with the fact this landlord decided to do a giant burn pile, which I'm pretty sure is illegal in the area. It's like doing some construction yard work type stuff and burning wood scraps, but without a permit. It's like he just had some issues with some other permit, and now he's keeps tempting fate. Well, he's got a neighbor, a prick neighbor, who'll probably make a fuss for him. Won't be my fault. But when that neighbor probably notices the giant smoke pile and complains, it's a giant smoke, not pile, pillar. Wrong word. Pile, pillar, sound similar, but they're definitely different things. Yep, long COVID brain. Sometimes I substitute the wrong word for things. Actually, we could do energy for trade. Oh yeah, they'll give me enough trade I could even buy the energy back someday. Okay. Maybe not all at once, but one thing I probably should do, and now it's pick up, is set up a monthly deals of buying some things. I have not done that. Should do that. I think it might be bugged whenever I reload though, where it like raises the price. I don't know if the devs fixed that. It used to be whenever you reload and there was a monthly deal, it would raise the price of things. I would bet dollars to it's still around because Paradox never fixes bugs. But yeah, I can sell energy to other empires and buy trade, do one-off deals. Oh wait, this is gonna get taxed, isn't it? Yeah, it is. But the nights, I guess I'll just do one-off energy purchases as well. That's a low price. It's just more work having to grow this. Alright, I'll buy a few consumer goods each month. At least I won't have to worry about buying consumer goods that way. Same with alloys, just a tiny amount. Might even not be enough to stop the price from slowly decaying back, but that might not be a bad thing. So I'll still sometimes go and buy some when I really need it, but this will just slightly reduce the frequency. Yep. Still haven't seen Lang Zane benefit from Prospector. Haven't seen any deposits that seem unusually large, and it used to be it would give you a notification. It would say such and such has used their special prospecting tools to find a larger deposit. It would actually give you a notice that something unusual had happened. It's not doing that, and I'm tempted to believe that's because it's broken. So it's around just to Run more by Lang Xing. Nothing's changing. Figures. Oh well. I'm not gonna keep doing that. May consider cheating, even though I'm only doing a test something, but it may gather so much XP on this guy. He levels up sooner. He is getting close to leveling, even with all the being over science cap. Oh yeah. New leaders yet? Nope. For 1.8 years now. This should probably... Usually you can get a thing that gives you uni. A lump sum of uni. Sometimes you can get lump sum of uni in a long-lasting buff to society research modifier if you get a bunch of egalitarian pops, but I don't think I had them by the time this entered notifications. So this is probably some uni. This is definitely the start of the manifesti. If you ever see carnival protesters, it has a mean time to happen of like, well, I don't remember, but it's got like a 6% chance every 10 years to fire if you have entertainers, and I got some entertainers on Anchor from the celebrity governor. So, start trying to trigger. I suppose if this is gonna be a stasis prison plan. If I had taken the if I were to do that and take gradual reintegration of stasis prisoners, you also get entertainer jobs. It used to be culture worker, but they eliminate culture worker jobs for the most part from the game. They're now just a reskin of bureaucrats in a certain situation, and things that used to give culture workers give entertainers, which is a lot worse because usually you don't need the minis at all. So it's just some uni, and culture workers used to get more uni, and that's point being, get a big lump sum of uni very soon. I was also looking at sub-specializations. It appears, yeah, I can do a research support sub-specialization in this reactor district once I get a unified field theory. Of course, it'll add 2.5 energy upkeep to every one of these knights, and that's after job modifiers. This is like 27 times 2.5. It's not insignificant amount of additional energy for a 10% increase to physicist output. I think knights benefit from physicist things just like this. So the knights be 10% more productive, but take a lot more energy. When I have unified field theory, could be worth doing. More so for the build slots, which can then have physics buildings, which can be moved over there to make room for like a data-driven theorem center here. There's also an astral threads building, I believe, that you can spam eventually that gives physics research. There's a Fallen Empire physics building you can build there eventually with Cosmogenesis, and there's something else I don't remember, but someday I might do it when I have enough of the other stuff and I have enough technician techs, because this also reduces technician output in the world. What I'll probably do is build a couple more orders, dimenses, and then when I get habitat expansion technology, which is just the basic orbital habitats, but when I get the tech to let me make the habitats bigger, I think this, it used to be this was the second level. It was a second level habitat from the beginning. Your habitat, so it'd be a third, but at some point I'll be able to add more dimensions. And at that point I'll probably do a reactor district on research support, and maybe an astromining bay. But since it's 2.5 minerals upkeep, and minerals are harder to produce, it's even less worth. Engineering support is less worthwhile than physics. Biology is less worthwhile than physics support as well, because even though it's the same 2.5 food, 2.5 energy, equally hard to replace the things. There's like 3 really reasonable buildings you can put of science type in physics, and the only thing you can do for biology, put a point here because I don't know, this would be where I was on a planet. The only thing you can do for biology is xenobiology. Anchor can't do that anyways. It can't do a, there's no ag districts on a habitat. The only farming jobs you get are from like one of the special types of generator districts, reactor districts there. Solar farming ones, and you got some build hydroponics buildings and habitats. which is all to say, there's eventual ways they can improve stuff. Eventual. I was probably still right to get rid of the reactor district. I never should have built it. It's much more late game to have reactor district to buff all the knights. Energy is more trivial, and maybe after I complete the quest and then lose this modifier. When I reach the end of the quest of Toxic God, I'm pretty sure I don't have to put energy in alloys, and then it comes easier to produce both. I'm scrounging to produce alloys. Substantial fraction of which go into supporting knights and squires. Some of my fleet. Some of my robot assembly plants. Hold on a second. Sorry, voices. I think the landlord is talking with a contractor. He should have announced he was going to do this construction. I woke up to like loud, power tools. It's like, really? I knew this was coming at some point, but you could tell people the day so they can plan around it. It's just little things like this. I think the difference between a good landlord and a mediocre one. Of course, all that really is required to be a landlord is that you have lots of money so you can buy housing, which is being commodified. And then because it's too much hassle, these small landlords eventually get pushed out of business by property management companies, and then those property management companies eventually get bought by bigger ones. And what we're headed towards, although it may take hundreds of years, is everything being owned by a few big banks or private equity firms that own all the housing areas and rent it, and no one can buy, and no one can afford to buy. This is the degeneration of capitalism that inherently happens. It's not because, like Trump people like, it's protecting the minorities or some bullshit. No, it's not some racist bullshit like that. It's because capitalism is always doomed to destroy itself. It just takes hundreds of years. So happened far too slowly for, say, the Cold War to go differently. Now some may say that means we don't have any good choices. And yeah, the Cold War was a rock and a hard place. Some may say they didn't like the Soviets, they didn't like the Americans. But the Soviets were committed socialists, and they absolutely left room in the world for other socialist nations to try and do their own thing, in some sense. Like, they wouldn't have cooed Salvador or Lendes Chile like the United States did. Is that your final offer, Larry? How about some extra minerals to sweeten the deal? No? We'll take it. I mean, they did dominate Eastern Europe, it's true, and Czech Spring and stuff like that, though the Czech Spring was widely perceived within the Soviet Union at the time to be an attempt to abandon socialism, and heck, the people talk about in the West, they wink, wink, nudge, nudge, they understand it to be that too, so, like, anyone who actually gets pissed about that, which is not many, because I don't know many Americans who even know what it was. We don't know our history in this country. But, so it's usually weird internet trolls and stuff, but when they talk about it, they think it was some tragedy because the Soviets prevented Czechoslovakia from abandoning socialism in the middle of the Cold War. It's like, no, capitalism would have led to
an anomaly.
Mass death and suffering. And indeed has throughout the world. Look at these pricks who communism killed 200 million people. First of all, that's an outright freaking lie. I had this conversation with a guy whose potential roommate just brought it up randomly. I'm like, what the fuck? He's been listening to me YouTube channel. He's trying to troll me. What's going on? And even the so-called Black Book of Communism, which was a piece of propaganda nonsense and lies, they included literal children that Nazi soldiers didn't have because they died fighting the Soviets. This wasn't some righteous war. This was the Nazis doing a war of genocide. They very freaking much deserved to get their shit kicked in. And they did. No sympathy for dead Nazis. But, even that book only claimed 100 million, and the numbers were outright fudged by doing stuff like including dead Nazi soldiers and children the Nazi soldiers didn't have because they died in the Eastern Front, where they were fighting a genocidal war that, by the way, killed 4.5 million Soviet civilians. So do not try and tell me that there were some other good guys. And that go fuck yourself if you try and make excuses for Hitler. Like, just no. There's something I haven't surveyed here? Oh, the Astral Scar. It's a little dangerous to go through the Ubergeist thing. Shoot. Alright, anyways, this anomaly fleet signatures. Readings suggest the presence of an unknown fleet in orbit of the hot vortex. They do not respond to hails. You think? The black hole. How could there be fleet? It doesn't make sense. Something's up there. It's gonna be risky to go by Ubergeist, so I'm probably just gonna go back. Survey what I can this way. I doubt the AI will make it past that fleet anyways, either. So I don't have to worry about getting beat to the possible anomalies hiding here. Cool. Just also train the scientists just a little bit. Yeah, so accepting my little snipe at people who try and defend the Nazis. I mean, there's some fortunate people who do that. Yeah, 100 million is a made up bullshit number. The real number is actually about 40 million, which is still really bad. But communism killed 40 million people. Do you know how many people capitalism killed, though? Through things that never happened in socialist worlds, such as deaths due to homelessness. Socialist countries, everyone was given free, guaranteed housing. And deaths due to lack of health care, because socialist countries free universal health care. Want to guess? Sorry. About 1 billion people. That said, capitalism was around about 4 times as long, and it had about 50% of the more of the world's population. So it's you might say it's 25 times the damage for 6 times the sample size. Of course, that's ignoring the fact global populations grew over time, so it was around 4 times as long. But some of those years, the planet had fewer people. Of course, earlier technology was less advanced, and you expect more people. It to be hard to meet human needs in an unfair system, so you can make that excuse. But it was at least 4 times worse in capitalism. Its history of like mass murder, genocide, and killing people through homelessness and starvation, and when there's enough food to go around in a country, but like having the poor starve to death, which happened. I mean, that's ignoring the famine genocides to some degree, like the Irish potato famine, which was a famine genocide committed by the British on the Irish. Something that some Americans have an awareness existed. It's one of the only famine genocides perpetrated by the West that you'll see acknowledgement of, because Irish Americans, some of them, their grandparents talk about how the British did that, because it was a crime against humanity. The British did there. They got away with it. Evil pricks. People should have been strung up for that. But you can't go and starve a whole country to death like that out of some Malthusian, otherwise they'll over reproduce. That's how the British justified causing the Irish potato famine. Really, they just thought the Irish were somehow inferior to them. So the wrong people reproducing was really what they were about. They just ethno-nationalist bullshit even then, in 1800s or whatever. Anyhow. So yeah. Communism, i.e. Marxist-Leninism, was bad, but capitalism was worse. That's the fact of it. Was and is. And I'm not a Marxist-Leninist, let me be clear. I'm a democratic socialist. So, you know, some of you viewers probably like that, some hate it. And I'm not trying to
construction completed.
Be obnoxious about it, although I sometimes end up being so unintentionally. Feel free to express legitimate thoughts, comments, concerns. I mean, just saying, oh, I hate you, I think you're a terrible person is not a legitimate, you know. But what about this? Well, what about, that could be into whataboutism bullshit, but, you know, have you considered the, like, legitimate questions? You folks know what legitimate questions are. I haven't seen any bad faith comments yet on my channel, but I'm sure, given my experiences on Reddit and stuff, that eventually people will do it when the channel gets big enough. And some
System
trolls.
survey concluded.
Trolls don't bother tiny channels. They bother big ones because the big ones are not as well moderated. Because, you know, the host of the channel is probably too busy to go banning them all from the channel. Whereas if I got some really nasty trolls, neo-Nazis, and libertarian pieces of garbage saying horrible things, I could ban them in a heartbeat because I don't have enough comments that they can hide. And they know that, so they don't bother my channel yet.
Ship upgrades applied.
Ah, ship upgrades applied. What's the song? Evolution. Oh, I like this song. It's nice. It's got a feel to it. Alright. Reserve fleets. Wait, 2 and 3. Like, shouldn't there be a reserve fleet 1? Because I turned it into something else and forgot to finish the renaming. Yeah, let's change numbers so I don't get confused. I only have 2 reserve fleets now. I have 3 upgrade fleets though. I should upgrade these. Air quote, upgrade these buckwars to worm killers. This ship was so much overwhelming power, probably is nothing to the worms, but that's not a terrible thing. Also these worm killers with the mining lasers, or well, cutting lasers, but they're mining lasers. The mining lasers can be replaced by, well, not replaced. What the hell am I saying? My brain's on COVID. These can be equipped later with like deflector, fusion reactor, and made into something that's really nasty and takes the fleet role of tearing apart enemy armor, and then energy siphon ships like the Bugger class fill the role of taking down shields, or more like a bracer. Just a little bit of a nod to lasers. Red lasers more cost effective than blue. Oh, how are these compared to this? There's a red 2.32. 4.72, although there is a tracking issue or a little more will be missed. The cutting lasers. Huh. No, I think the cutting lasers are actually more cost effective. They don't even have a range advantage. Oh no, they do. Actually, this only has 30 range. Still. Not that song right now. Cleaning paperwork, that's better. Oh, yeah, I could do this. Probably create an improved bracer class at some point. Well, or to probably just revise the bracer class to have cutting lasers. The buckler still go without. Because cutting lasers do have upkeep and energy siphons don't, so the fleet sits in port all the time. This is way more cost effective. Yeah, and I'll build a whole lot of these, because with all the worm killers, I'll actually have a fleet that's too focused on taking down armor and not enough. I just say, wait, yeah, not enough on shields, so that energy siphons will be needed. It's about killing the worms for now. So, it's not even that expensive to do these retrofits. Let's get on it. And so mostly worm killers with a few bracers. Buckler class. So, you know what? Maybe I'll even get rid of these. No, I'd be better off upgrading the bucklers to bracers before I... Yeah, I can show up a third bracer class. Alright, anyways. Working on the fleet stuff. Soon I'll be ready to go kill those void worms. I keep wanting to call them mine worms because of my Alex and Tari Let's Play. Do watch that, by the way. It's a pretty cool game. Mine worms detected. It's not quite how it says in the game, but I can't do a perfect rendition of it. Oh, I do wonder if I had done a crime lord deal here, if it would have been the same with criminal jobs not being filled. Calculate out, and it's the planet. Oh wait, I have more industrialists than I remembered. Each of these is worth the equivalent of 23 times base 12, so 230 plus 46, 276 value in that, and I think these each have like only 4 now, so 10. 3 and 16. These guys each have a base output of 12. I'm only looking at base output because stability acts in base output. 3 and 52. Put. Shoot, yeah, the crime lord deal would have been profitable if my stability was 90% or lower. It's not. When I'm ready to get rid of information quarantine someday, maybe. Maybe, except my plan is to do this, then this, it's gonna be a long time until there's actually any worlds that can use more stability. One of these 3. Those are way less stable.
Construction completed.
Bengal has finished the starbase. How close am I to... Still got a little ways to go. Probably have time to build 1 platform before advancing. Let's just get that energy deposit. Well, that's over a gas giant. I can actually be attacked by space amoebas. They tend to attack energy platforms over gas giants, if I remember. I haven't seen any around, so it's probably fine. And I can actually get the amoeboid pacification project because of bubbles, and then hopefully still study them when I haven't yet seen the first contact space amoebas. I haven't seen any around. Could turn out I screwed myself out of a permanent fleet evasion modifier, at least permanent for this empire. Pretty sure the successor empire will get to do the first contacts with all the space life again, and if it didn't, then it would lose out on the empire modifier either way and be screwed because it won't inherit it for sure. 30 systems now, and I now have an extra starbase capacity. Saves me some energy. Ha! Should go from -124 to, well, I don't think I have much except robot manufacturing. Let's increase my energy from month to month. Okay, deals that might expire. This is going to finish this month, interestingly. And then I get started on automated farms, I guess. Worth noting, I can look somewhere like here. Yeah, this gives you extra biologists, adds to biologist output, but increases food upkeep. But it does allow belt sets that include the xenobiology labs. Can be useful on people are miscalculating things. Okay, they're looking at like big worlds. It's actually small worlds. It's most beneficial because you won't have that many space for city districts. They're specialized in research, and if you add just one, let's say, generator district instead of a city, then you can give it I don't actually have one of those that here. You have one of these buildings, that's 200 physicist jobs, already as much as a city that's spec'd out into research. Because you have 2 specializations, each adding 100 research jobs. And, you know, and then there's the astral threads building. I think there's something else, and you may still want to automate some of the jobs. Because it'll, the district will have 300 jobs. You'll have 200, 200, so you have 700 jobs you'll automate. It's definitely worth it. So, you know, an automation building and 2 research buildings, and 700 jobs, of which 400 and 550 are researcher jobs. It's better than a city district for sure. So small plants are actually where it's really worthwhile, just to get your research numbers up. And that's particularly relevant early game because you probably actually can't afford to dedicate a large plant to just to research, especially if it's like one type of research, like a physics research world, and you're only just having one generator district that's on research support, maybe not even having anything else besides cities. Maybe still for the build slots, 1 mine, 1 ag. Like, I'm not even sure. I could maybe choose one of my smaller plants like Sujimia Prime and turn to a research world. That's it. In which case, having extra labs in the resource production would help.
System survey concluded.
Because I need everything else for forges, or else I'll fall behind in my military buildup. And the Hive, which has a much bigger fleet than me, and keeps annoyingly building it bigger and bigger and bigger. They already have like 12 or 13 or 1,000 fleet power. Compare that to what I've got. I'm screwed. I've got like maybe 4,000. Even with defense platforms and turning these old starholds, I'm really screwed if I don't build up my fleet rapidly. They must be using maulers. Nope, they're using corvettes. Then I don't even know what the heck. How'd they build their fleet so much? They must have completely neglected their civilian economy. Probably because they claimed all the systems from them. If that is the case, though, in the long, then they will choke out their economic growth in the long run with military buildup. There's no way a fleet that big isn't costing them a pretty penny, especially because the AI doesn't build fleets with obsolete components usually. It's all the latest stuff. That fleet's probably crushing them in alloys and energy upkeep. Could, if I really wanted, I go to some multiplier and just see what the AI's, or observe, see what the AI's resource balances look like. It'd be interesting to see, but they just sometimes seem to cheat and produce resources out of nowhere when they're really low early game. They don't do it later, it seems to be. But they shouldn't have the trade value to buy stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're getting events, like legit events that give them resources, but they definitely get modifiers to increase their production. And I did set AI modifiers to be doubled from tech and such for added difficulty. And oh yeah, this crisis is like 2 or 3x, I think, in all. So yeah, I don't feel bad about doing so. It's kind of overpowered because eventually the crisis will threaten to wipe out the galaxy. And I want to do a Cosmogenesis victory eventually here, and then continue playing the galaxy. So can't make it too slow a game for that. Maybe like, what, 100 and something videos. This is insanely long, guys. I know. The series takes a while. Bright side, it means series will go way into the future. Maybe I'll even have multiple series going in parallel, just because I do another Star, so that's why I won't want to have the first video start playing like 2027. No, I'll probably have overlap, especially because series lose viewers as they go on a real long time. And, you know, people see new ones posting this older Let's Play at the same time, which should by that point be an outdated version of the game, and maybe some people go back and watch it. Maybe they'll look at it and be like, you played so slow back then, Northstar, and now you're faster, because long COVID symptoms can gradually get better over time if you don't get reinfected. Not like, it's not, disease is not going to just go away like some people would prefer to believe is the case, because it's convenient that they don't have to help people with this disease. It's an easy out for them. Let's increase my always by. A little bit. Yeah. So no, long COVID isn't just gonna go away completely, and it's not gonna decrease very rapidly. What does happen is it gradually gets better, and then you get reinfected, and you lose all the progress you made. You know, you got better for a year and a half, and then you get reinfected with COVID. Some strains do this more than others. Like some strains of virus won't set you back much, but you get the wrong strain, and boom, you just lost a year and a half of healing, and you're back to where you were, or you lost 2 years, and you're worse than at the beginning of it. So it's like a 4 steps forward, 3 steps back in the situation, making the recovery insanely long. Like, the doctors filled out forms saying they expect this to last to the point of death, which is, of course, partly people with long COVID have short and average life expectancies, so that's not saying quite as much as you would think. I'm more likely to like drop dead of a heart attack or a stroke early, because there's clotting issues and more likely to throw clots than healthy people are. I know, depressing. Maybe I shouldn't talk about that. But, it needs to be talked about because there's a lot of people with this disease and people need to advocate about it. We need the government to invest in finding a cure. The optimistic thing, maybe people think I'm being over-optimistic, but I'm not. We're doing viruses. We have the technological capacity to understand this disease well enough to come up with highly effective treatments or possibly a cure. We can do it. It's just a matter of money, mostly. There hasn't been the funding put into the research. Not even like, we're not saying it's like 10% short. We're saying the funding, I'm saying the funding that's been put into long COVID research is like 1/200th of what it needs to be. It's only a few $1 million. It's not even, it should be in the billions range. which may sound like a lot, but when you look how much is spent on the military and such, and there are over 14, by some estimates now, over 16 million Americans long COVID, and at least 4 million of those are just have it bad enough they're disabled. Fully, like me. Like to the point, fully disabled doesn't actually mean you can't work at all. It means you're to the point where you wouldn't be able to work enough to support yourself, to like feed yourself and keep a roof over your head. So you can't work more than like an average of 10 hours a week or something. Like I could probably work about 8 hours a week. So there are people who are worse than me, who some can't even get out of bed, who can't work a single hour. I've been trying to find employers to make the disability accommodations where they can throw me a couple 4-hour shifts a week and make accommodations. Like if I do a 4-hour shift, I need to sit down at least every single hour on the hour. Like for 5 minutes, my legs will start to swell. Even with, it's actually sometimes faster, but if I get the compression stockings, doctors keep saying I can probably make it an hour instead of only 30 minutes without sitting down. If they don't work at all, then I have to sit down every 30 minutes, which is even more ridiculous. No employer wants to give an employee a break every 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it turns out to be. Trial and error. Plus, if I can get a job like this, maybe I should experiment with the compression stockings first, but I have very low faith that any employer is actually going to offer me anything, so I don't want to waste the money. But it looks likely I'll get something, that maybe I'll start buying them and figuring out how well they work for me. But maybe just when things are less stressful, I have less other things to distract me. It's a project of mine I mean to do. Just having any luck establishing dating and dating someone really physically active. Compression stockings could help me keep up also on like more physically strenuous, like going for walks and stuff. Be able to stay on my feet a little longer. I'd still have to slow them down, but you know, if I can go on a 15-minute walk without any issues instead of a 10, or a 30-minute walk and be post-exertion malaised for 2 days instead of only 20-minute, you get the idea. Then that'll help when dating someone who likes exercise, which I like to exercise, so those are the sort of people I jive with, because that's how I was. But when I was healthy, that's my personality, was physically active. It's not like I'm some 300-pound guy who got disabled. No, I was healthy. Well, I had a health issue with a cough since I was respiratory issues since I was a kid, but that's probably genetic. But I ate right. I was thin. Had some muscle on me, not as much as like, probably because I also had some digestive issues since I was a kid alongside the cough. I had a coworker who thought it was probably a mild form of cystic fibrosis that I had because he had CF. He said that sounds just like his, and he was concerned about it because you don't want two people with CF working alongside each other because they can get certain bacteria that they can pass off. And I'm like, well, I've never been diagnosed with it. But then I was going to go respiratory. I'm like, I'll have them run for some of the rare, milder forms of it. I probably don't have one of the really, like, kills you forms. But then COVID came around and I never got those tests run. There's, like, sweat tests they can run to see if you have, like, a lot of people end up having undiagnosed milder forms of CF. So that's one possibility for what I might have had, that disease, like, my whole life. Which kind of puts in context. I was always probably a little bit higher risk individual in the pandemic. Unfortunate. Sucks, but true. But I like to see myself as healthier than I really was. But nonetheless, I ate right. I was not overweight, and you know, just something within my control to like watch how many calories I ate. You know, some people, they overeat themselves and the unhealthy. Some people have genetic issues, but for every like I think it was for every 4 people for every 1 person who has genetic issues that make them like overweight, 4 people just eat too much and have lack of self-discipline. Of course, now they have like meds that people can take that suppress appetite or increase metabolic rate and can Well, people lose weight, and that's good. Some of them also cause people to have heart attacks. Of course, those same meds also reduce the rate of certain cancers, strangely. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. Doctors will prescribe it if they think someone should take it. The insurance covers it. That's the problem in the U.S. is insurance doesn't want to cover that particular med. The one coming out of Denmark, I forget what it's called right now. Wegovy? No, that's not it. But Wegovy, I think, is the brand name of it. The freaking, anyways, weight loss drug that came out of Denmark that was a payoff for them investing in health and education all these years instead of like the U.S. screwing over its people and then. Oh, I don't know why we have so much poverty. Maybe it's because you've frickin' shortchanged the education and healthcare systems for 80 years. Maybe that's got something to do with it? At least in poor areas, it's all locally funded, so poor towns don't have good schools and rich ones do in the U.S. That quote good schools is one of the things that actually drives up the property values in areas. So if a poor town manages to scrape together and make its schools good, then their property values shoot up, and then the people who were willing to sacrifice, like pay relatively high taxes for such a poor community, like very high percentages of their income to support good schools in their town, suddenly they get priced out of the very town that they helped to make a nice place. Make the schools good in. So there's like not even a reward for towns to try and make it better. Unless people are planning to like sell when their house goes up in price before the higher like property taxes and such like come back to bite them. I suppose at that point in town could lower the property taxes back and still have the same revenues at the higher pound prices, but that rarely happens. Politics are usually too inflexible to respond quickly enough. And politicians get on the side of gentrification usually. So, yeah, the U.S. is just a mess, and the Europeans watching this, and it does a great job of selling itself as the quote greatest country in the world. Well, it's the greatest country for some rich asshole to come and like buy up all the housing, or build a factory, or put money that they stole in their home country and banks in the U.S. and get away with never having anyone come and make and give it back. It's great for that sort of stuff, but it's not good for ordinary people escaping poverty. Economic and social mobility in the U.S. is actually lower than in much of Europe. The U.S. is actually well behind a lot of Europe in a lot of measures of success. It's not the country itself to be to the rest of the world. And it was already that way even when it won the Cold War. Like, Soviet Union did a terrible job of selling itself. The U.S. did a great job of making it seem better than a place that it really was. And people come to the U.S. as immigrants, and they first see the higher like salaries and wages, and they don't realize, well, your salary is higher because you pay through the nose for private health care, and you actually have less take-home pay. Or they come from a third world country where things are legitimately worse where they came from. Don't realize they're worse because U.S. banks like
System survey concluded.
have like made like extremely exploitative loans to industries in their country, so the companies there are barely staying afloat, or companies are directly owned by U.S. investors. Usually it's a combination of the two, where like there'll be partial ownership by U.S. investors, and then what's not, and those companies will on top of that carry substantial debts at extortionate interest rates to U.S. banks or like development banks. It's a combination of the two things, and then elites who the U.S. like the CIA puts in power, who buy U.S. military hardware if the country's doing well enough instead of investing back in the country. What do they use the military hardware for? Usually to oppress their own population. Military dictatorships and shit. And of course that benefits the defense contractors in the U.S. who sell the equipment. That's the global system that's come into being. It's not a good one. Says, of course, playing as a right-wing spiritualist monarchy. But, you know, you can play with one thing and talk about something else. I think you, my audience, can also track that. I was looking, unified field theory requires tech access to volatile motes for some reason. I'm not sure if this tech is required or if the earlier already researched, where is it? I got this a while ago. Volatile material plants does it. We shouldn't have invested in that tech. It's not great, although not many things they did after were better, so we got maybe one computing a little earlier. I think I supposed it would build a material planner when they didn't just keep, oh, I'll do it when it's more cost effective. I should probably just hurry up and freaking do it now. I think you can build chemical plants and like... Oh, no thank you. Yeah. Yeah, this works on metallurgists and artificers. And artisans. These slots are less flexible than the urban ones, so... Yep, chemical plant time. Just gonna do it now. I should have done it some time ago. So, 2 civilian industries, a chemical plant, and then I'll switch mixings to civilian industries. This last all I found your eventually are placed to have all my civilian industry on my capital. Run military's economy and just have all these forge worlds. Boom, boom, boom. This one might develop slower because of the habitability issues. You'll have at least a synth that fits in these substantial ones. Second south we can't have many mines, but eventually I'm going to be using food for always. Which actually even a synth could have 5 of these into agriculture. So it'll be able to retool itself if necessary. I'm running low on food and have plenty of minerals. Like orbital deposits, I doubt that'll be the case, so probably keep the mines around. Since second this is probably a generator world, and Striber Prime. What to do with you? It's got Titanic life forms. I do not know if I'll get the eventual chance to study them like on the other world. Enough of that. And on. There we go. I don't know what I'll do with Starver Prime. I'll probably just sit as a feeder world for a good while until I've decided. I have so many minerals to go around anyways. Got all these colonists though. Colonists. Colonists are strange. Yeah, I suppose I should start a mining district next month. I think there's only one district that's not bought. It's fine. Even one mining district to help a little. It'll give me access to build slots. How big is this? Is size 12. Physicist Research Society. Maybe this should be my tech world. Starboard Prime. In which case, maybe I don't even add build slots. Just keep a mine. Later, I'll turn it to engineering support. Nah, it's not cost effective to do engineering support. This is too much extra upkeep. Probably do mineral extraction. But I might do physics support. Probably do mineral